clear. Go.
Welcome back, Chumba, for another Cyberpunk 2077 lore discussion. Today we are looking at the youth and welfare of Night City. Many states were home to large numbers of non-productive citizens at the beginning of the collapse. The welfare system quickly reached a state of attrition. States that instituted stringent controls in the beginning, like California, were much more prepared to deal with an extended crisis. Nonetheless, by the year 2000, over 150 million were disenfranchised. Many of those died. The collapse also resulted in the destruction of the family unit, essentially the basis for all forms of civilization since Homo sapiens first walked erect. By the 1980s, the family unit had already fragmented and then shattered, to be replaced in part by the neo-tribal, booster, and meta-family structures. These units were a suitable replacement for a family after the base socialization skills were in place. But in the early childhood stages of development, the lack of a cohesive and demonstrative family structure only crippled the youth of post-collapse America. To understand the real magnitude of the problem in Night City, it's important to put the youth problem into context. In the last 60 years, the number of Americans in a nuclear or classic two-parent family had gone from 80% to approximately 2%. During the collapse, the population of America was decreased by about 100 million. 1 in 3 of these deaths was a parent. Almost half of the families were sole parent families. With the other socioeconomic factors in sync, this effectively orphaned some 30 million children in the space of 18 months. 10 million of these children were completely unable to support themselves in any way. They simply died or were killed in the collapse. Another 10 million were killed trying to survive under martial law. This left 10 million people loose in society without even the socialization skills of an adolescent. The violence of the martial law period added another 10 million to this figure. By 2020, fully 11% of the population of America had grown up with no family structure. This segment of the population also reproduced at twice the rate of other Americans. This begs the question, with a huge section of the population having neither a frame of reference for parenting or any parenting skills, who raises the next generation in Night City? The smallest group involved in this task, and in many ways the best educated, are the corporate children. They are divided into the meta family at the technician and clerical level, and they return to the upper middle class child rearing methods at the executive level. A child who is taught in the corporate meta family is properly supervised and disciplined in corporate daycare and preschools. Regardless of the number of parents in the family, the opportunity for individual attention is encouraged. At an early age, all instruction is basic communications and computation skills. At age 8, the children are assigned to cells of about 6 to 20 members. The cell is analogous to the Spartan fraternities and will affect the child for the rest of their corporate life. All eligible children, regardless of status or ability, are assigned to cells. The base idea is to train all of the members in teamwork, hence all members live, eat, and sleep together. They participate in team sports and projects. In the cyberpunk era, hesitation is death. Delegation and accountability are the rule of the day. Students are taught most facets of the business, but proprietary information is withheld. A more advanced curriculum in communications and computation is also included, along with a second language and higher mathematics. Aptitude testing and more specialized training is begun after age 12. At age 14, the students are given a test examination and the final curriculum for each student is decided upon. At age 15, the student is given a final examination. This examination will determine where the student will begin their career within the corporation. There are several obvious faults to the cell system. Though supervision is good, the students lack a large selection of role models. The cell also mirrors several of the elements of gang culture. As members move up in the company, they usually try to promote and assist other members of the same cell. This can lead to cronyism and bullying. The second major flaw is the great amount of self-guided study. Dropouts and defection are also met with a negative reaction, as are the occasional newcomer replacements. The system also does not prepare the students for radical change outside of the direct working situation. In the upper corporate levels, child rearing has again become much more personalised. A child growing up in this environment will have a strong sense of elitism, matched only by the most exclusive of their peers. This is fostered by upper management in order to refine and strengthen the inherent class structure of the corporation. Among the parents, there is a constant current of vicarious competition as the triumphs of their children allow them to score social points against other corporate parents. Such success is supportive of the prevailing notion that these offspring will be the rightful inheritors of their mothers' and fathers' company positions. Street children make up the vast majority of youth in Night City. This is thanks to minimum supervision due to the increasing workloads and the lack of an adequate public schooling system. By age 6, most are unsupervised for up to 6 hours a day. By age 12, this figure rises to 16 hours a day. By the age of 10, almost 90% of street kids are involved in some type of youth gang, either simplistic and feral child families, or possibly a block gang, or as a junior affiliate to a large booster gang. Whatever the modus operandi, the street kid is well on their way to death in their teenage years. Most gangs are fairly simplistic at the early age levels. These feral families are a common sight in post-collapse America, groups of children living in a morass of garbage. Powerful booster gangs always look for replacements and new members. Attrition and the police are a constant toll on their numbers. Many allow very young sets to form. There is a slightly adversarial relationship between the affiliates and the block gangs. As the kids get older, the affiliates are given higher and higher profile crimes to commit. The local block gangs don't appreciate this attention. Both sides are also wary of the other going to the police. And an easy compromise, punctuated by violence from both sides, usually wins out. By age 14, the affiliates are usually either full members or dead. One interesting point on the issue of affiliates. It is not uncommon for a patron to give an execution over to a group of 12-year-old kids. Even in the cyberpunk era, a murder conviction is difficult to obtain with a juvenile. The most logical explanation of this is the generational gap. Most judges grew up in the more liberal times before the collapse, and there is still a prejudice against executing children. Usually, if any vague pretense of self-defense can be alleged, the kid will get off with a few years. The neo-tribalism method of raising children effectively represents honor in the nomad system. Some consider nomad children to be amongst the luckiest of cyberpunk America. They have a very close community to grow up in. These children have the most opportunity for creative play. They are taught value systems, cultural identity, respect, and discipline. Contrary to the corporate system, these things are not taught in an artificial setting, and they are not forced. Young nomads are also taught reading, writing, math, mechanics, and electronics, all the skills necessary to survive in the cyberpunk age. The internal respect that is so prevalent in nomad culture is a crucial factor in its success. Families have a very high percentage of teachers, not just literate people trying to teach, but real academic teachers. The final topic I'm going to cover is the relationship between children and cyberware, as several Choombers have asked me about this. The effects of cyberware are problematic in young children, especially in children who are going through the changes of puberty. Because of this, most licensed cyberware dealers will not even talk to a preteen. The majority of nanotech optics, audio, and neural wear has no adverse effect after age 10. Any type of reflex boost, for example, will cause debilitating growth pains. Muscle and bone lace stops all skeletal development. Furthermore, grafted muscle does not grow properly. However, children can also assimilate cyberware with little humanity cost, in contrast to adults, albeit the cyberware must be constantly changed to adapt with the growing body to minimize issues, which might not be worth the effort. Hey Chumba, I'm Kazuliski, and I hope you found this Cyberpunk 2077 lore discussion to be informative. Are you interested in more Cyberpunk 2077 content? Then be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you for chipping in.